wildest, boldest, and most unexpected. And this week we're kicking off brand new theme a month of weird westerns. All month long, we're saddling up for films that take the western formula, twist it, stretch it, and sometimes blow it up entirely. These aren't your traditional dusty frontier tales. These are westerns that go off the rails in the best possible way. And to start things off, we're heading to the 2000s South Korea with the explosive genre bending action adventure The Good, the Bad, the Weird. Directed by the.
She makes like video content of old
sorry.
games. Like,
Directed by Kim Jee-woon. This film is high octane homage to spaghetti westerns, packed with train robberies, treasure maps, outlaws, and chaotic set pieces that feel like Sergio Leone by way of pure cinematic adrenaline. It's stylish, loud, funny, and completely unrestrained. A western filtered through action, spectacle, and comic absurdity. We'll be talking about how the film plays with classic Western archetypes, how it blends global influences into something uniquely its own, and why it's the perfect way to launch a month dedicated to the strange side of the frontier. So grab your map, watch your back, and prepare for gunfights, galloping horses, and glorious chaos. This is a First Last podcast and Weird Westerns. We start now with the good, the bad, the weird.
Yeah, the weird. Couldn't and we'll get into it. This one is I've not seen something like this, and you're always going to get something like that from a foreign film that is going to expand your horizons. South Korean film, which Tom so lovingly and excellently, I might add, introduced us. But first, who are these two guys? Really quick, we are the first home base on YouTube. But first, our home website is FirstLastNerdom.com. That's where you can find me and Tom and our Gavanting cavalcade of whatnot in the carousel of the latest ones that we put out there. But also, like I said, home base on YouTube at First Last Nerdom. I'm gonna drop it off here to Tom because he might have something extra he wants to cover or some of the things that he's been into. But Tom, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes. So yeah, been doing. Been trying to keep up with the shorts. We did. I did one for End of the Line. DC started their new Vertigo line again, and so I may have some future issues of those as well from the Vertigo line. But yeah, I'm on First Last Nerdom on Reddit under First Last Nerdom, and I try to promote our stuff on different subreddits that will have me. I'm also on X under First Last Nerdom, and then you have your socials as well.
I too am on the X at Sofa King Jewish _ where sometimes you can see me and Tom banter back and forth and bandy about. And one of the things that we're going to get into doing that today is this. Now, there are openings to films, there are intros, and there are openings to films. And we've actually had a couple good films that kind of hit you hard over the head out of the gate. This one did so in the first 15 minutes. So you kind of set the stage for how weird, visceral, and how crazy it can be to rob a train that you would classically see in a Western film. That's practically a trope or whatever. But I don't know. I didn't know how to take this. I mean, I definitely was entertained for sure. But this is what I love about doing this stuff, where you get exposed to some of these films that are just out there, or that you would never think that they would attempt, or that they would just be never. They would never even try in a million years for modern sensibilities or risk taking anyway. But I'll throw it back to you. I know you have. I just wanted to kind of go back and cover how we picked this out and kind of set the tone for the month for our Western film series this month.
Yeah, yeah. I was a fan of this director. I originally saw his movie A Tale of Two Sisters, which is kind of an interesting horror film that it's kind of yeah, it was a bit shocking. So yeah, I was like, okay, and then I here he did a Western a few years later, and I was like, okay, I got to see this by the director. So, yeah, and he wrote, directed, and produced it. Yeah, and I saw it back whenever it became available on DVD back in the day. Yeah, there was actually a couple of different interesting westerns. Takashi Miike came out with a western about that same time as well, which was a Japanese western. But yeah, have enjoyed it ever since. And then when yeah, I learned that you enjoy the odd western here and there, so I knew it would be something to throw at us. And actually, Arrow did a very nice 4K edition of it. It's got the slip cover on it. Really nice artwork to it. It comes out, and then you've got, of course, the 4K with all the goodies in that. But then, if you get the limited version, you also get a little booklet and then a poster as well. So a lot of good stuff if you're a big fan of the movie, which I am. So I had to get this. But yeah, so yeah, and then watching it on 4K, I remember it looking really good on DVD, but watching it on 4K was really real eye catching. Those wonderful vistas, like I said, the first 15 minutes is action packed, and you're following that bird as it flies over the train, and
right.
That's done by early 2000s CGI in South Korea, but it still looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, there was a lot that held up that I enjoyed a lot about. Sorry, I was just messing around. I apologize. When we go live, I have to go and fiddle around and monkey with the title and the thing. And otherwise, it just says we're live. So that's what I'm trying to desperately go back and do here. Not very well, but anyway, let me go back to the tab here and reshare our main screen here, and then I'll let Tom wind us up here a little bit more for the big show. Yeah, how did you like? I mean, I know. Yeah, you're right. I do like westerns, particularly spaghetti westerns. Definitely a Clint Eastwood fan over John Wayne. Nothing wrong with John Wayne at all, but it's personal. I just grew up with that, and I just that was kind of the lanky, tall man with no name, literally. That was the allure, and then coming in and tough, old grizzled. Always love. I wouldn't say I could always put in, but probably up there with maybe noirs, older, kind of that thing I just love. I can probably just about always be in a mood to convince myself. It doesn't take much convincing for me to jump into, especially like on a weekend. Like there's just something about throwing on a western. This was different. This was I'm still kind of processing it, like on the merits. But I don't. What do you think? I mean, what are your? You usually have the more interesting history coming into this and explaining the thing. Anyway, but aside from the excellent Arrow 4K print you have.
Yeah, Kim Jee-woon, the writer director, he was very much taken with spaghetti westerns, like you mentioned, as your forte. So yeah, he wanted to do a spaghetti western. He was a big fan of Sergio Leone, but also while I was watching it again this time, towards the end when it gets to the big action-packed set piece at the end, it started reminding me of Mad Max, and that was in the interview. That was one of his influences for this, was Mad Max, the second one in particular, being a heavy influence with all the the horses and the vehicles and whatnot. And you can definitely tell it gets a little crazy. I don't know if it all completely makes sense with the action scene, but it's gosh darn stylish, including the main bad guy and his 2000s hairstyle. I don't know if that was that holds up completely, but yeah, it's definitely in the style of it doesn't ever really overwhelm the movie. It definitely has its look, but it's very very distinctive. But yeah, it doesn't like there's a one point where they're having like a shootout in the little town or whatever in the good he's flying around on these ropes and shooting his shotgun and twirling it, and I don't know, it just looked awesome, seeing it, because you're used to, like with the western, a shootout, but here you are, you're kind of getting almost that wire fu with him kind of swinging around on a rope, and it just kind of adds a different flavor to it.
Yeah, kimchi western for sure. It's different. It's completely different. Again, well, and I should have backed up here. Like, what the hell are these guys? Aside from the intro, this is the you got two outlaws. Essentially three guys going for opposite ends of the thing, and then they're in the middle of the 1940s Manchuria, and they're not gonna. It's not exactly a cakewalk. There's some contested ideas of who's got what and who belongs to whom, to say the least. For the action, it also would say it very good for the bounding between sequences and things like that. It does it. It is. I would say it was pretty action packed. It's where you get, but there's not too much downtime, but it does work for the pacing and what you get. I don't know. What do you think as far as the pacing went and how action? What you got your dollars worth for everything involved?
Yeah, it was a little over 2 hours long. There's two different cuts. I watched the 2 hour and 10-minute version. I think there's also a 2 hour and 15-minute version as well. I went with the international cut as opposed to the Korean cut, but I think it holds up. The basic story is, you have a bounty hunter, and you got two outlaws, one of whom's stumbled upon a treasure map, and they're all everybody seems to be after that guy and his treasure map, and there's a good bit of, well, like you said, it's action packed, so it keeps the pace going, but there's a bit of comedy in it as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funny sequences, so it never gets too bogged down. There'll be a laugh here and there in between all the action. The weird, he at one point gets a scuba tank helmet on
Right.
to protect themselves against the bullets.
The weird, obviously, to his name, to his character name, so to speak, is he survives through this kind of wild and chaotic, slapstick, just that, and then you have the good that has their languages. The way that they communicate is you look at this one, you can definitely tell right off the bat, this one's the good, this one's the bad, this one's the weird, and what the little kind of peculiarities that go with those names, and then as well as it's equally that, but it's also equally what they're doing at that time to kind of show. They each kind of have their own little kind of moment that kind of cements their name a little. I mean, I'm sure you could pick that out anywhere, but to me, I kind of caught that, like where it's doled out through the movie, like where you kind of say a moment a little bit longer to kind of emphasize either before or after, or whatever that was going on in that scene. Anyway, I don't know if you'd noticed that or not, but it's kind of patently obvious. But probably like me trying to make a Mona Lisa and making a stick figure painting, like obvious things that stick out to me. I liked it, but anyway, but there still is some seriousness going around them, and that kind of plays to a little bit of levity that you see a little bit here and there, but it also gives a seriousness to it as well, because we're kind of off to the races, and there isn't, like I said kind of before, there isn't really any time to kind of slow down or just kind of, let's all kind of just hang out and think about it for a minute. Not the kind of hanging out that goes on in this movie.
Right, and it could have done well with a little bit more character development, I would say. You do get to want to know these people a little bit better. You only ever really get the wider brush strokes for, say, the bounty hunter, the good in the story. You really don't know too much. So he's leaning heavily on the archetype to do most of the heavy lifting. You do get more of a backstory for the bad and the weird, but and then there's like a we won't get into spoilers, but there's a big revelation that I don't know if they earned at the end, but because the weird is more of a comedy element, and that kind of changes on its head later on, or they try to change it, which I don't know if they're completely successful on that part of it. But yeah, as far as the action goes, for the most part, it's very good. I do really enjoy the whole sequence with the train at the beginning of the movie. You can't really have a western and a heist without having a train at one point, and they do some pretty flashy maneuvers with their camera movement within that. I don't know if he maintains that completely through the whole movie, but that beginning sequence is really good. I was never really confused on what was happening as like later on. It does get a little weird, and you're at one point, the goods facing off against this whole Japanese army, and I don't know that's how realistic that is, but this is kind of sort of a larger than life kind of movie, so you kind of have to suspend your disbelief. But sometimes it gets towards the breaking point at certain parts of the movie.
There are some that you kind of force you to kind of step, that kind of push you out of the ring a little bit. Just a little bit, last minute push, just a little bit too hard. It kind of make you can't help but step out just a little bit, but then you can kind of step back in and get back into it. But again, it's a Western in the 40s, or the late 30s, whatever, the wartime, that is essentially, it is a cultural, like a transplant, but it weirdly works because there's a lot going on. I think it works because you don't really stand around and ask questions for too long until a moment like that you mentioned kind of happens. It did kind of happen to me a couple times, but not anything to the ultimate enjoyment of it, but it did kind of take me out and be like, oh yeah, I am watching this, and then all of a sudden you kind of see, then you're just likely to see kind of like, wait a second, that's not a gun they would use back in the Western days, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, but that you don't.
A little bit later, yeah.
it's not a movie where you're paying attention to every little square inch of iota of the thing. You're going with it because, again, just like it's in motion. Like that's the feeling of the movie. It's not quite, maybe as hectic or frenetic. It's its own frenetic, but it's maybe not quite as layered up as Speed is, or something like that. But it's still you're not stopping. You're in for a ride, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, and there's a lot of what they would call probably key jangling in front of you. It gets you to look at what's going on, and just kind of it's one of those movies where last week we were doing our Instance in the Dark, and that movie, Reflecting Skin, is one of those movies that you have to go to it. You really have to gotta be willing to invest into it. Whereas this movie, it comes to you. It's very very inviting, so that you're coming to it. And there's a lot of style to it, which really kind of pumps you up. The characters are larger than life. You're you're almost immediately invested because there's these archetypes. Even though it's a Korean Western, it's playing with all the tropes that you're familiar with a Western, especially a spaghetti Western. So that there's an immediate language there, even though it's coming through differently. It's got an interesting flavor to it. It kind of instead of being sort of like just going through the motions with all these cliches. The cliches are reinvigorated by it being a Korean movie, and it's kind of uniquely has its own look and feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say too. Oh, we didn't even touch on this. This was Korean. What were the financials like for it? Because I think that it did. Didn't it go? Didn't it do all right enough? I mean, for what it was. I mean, it's not like blew the doors off the thing, but it definitely made its money.
Yeah, and it was big enough to where I was aware of it. It was something that came up, and of course I may be not the best judge because I got my ear close to the ground when it comes to weird movies, but yeah, it's definitely made an impression on me. But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't have like any of the hard numbers, but I think it did pretty well for them.
Yeah, I don't have any hard pin, and sometimes this happens too with foreign films. Like I think it did anywhere from 10 to 17. It made enough money to be successful. Was pretty.
Yeah, it made 44 million in America.
Okay. It was
the budget was 10 million. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was reportedly the most expensive Korean film ever made at the time, or one of that point. I don't have too much of that other than that claim, so that could be. I'm sure it's been eclipsed by now. I have no doubt that it has been, but I was going to say too. And that's because it was largely shot in the Gobi Desert in China, and and you can tell there is good practical effects and practical action sequences too. And so they did a good job on that, and they also had they didn't. I was kind of talking about there, like there's a little thing on the corner of a detail not being quite right or whatever, but still there is more better detail than bad. I would say nothing that really pulls you out and be like, what are you talking about? But you're right. Yeah. 44 million. That the majority of that money came from South Korea itself, I believe, which sold like 6 million, almost 7 million tickets. So it was successful.
And it did win a lot of awards as well, it looks like, and just kind of going through that.
Yeah, anyway, but definitely line up on that for sure. Here, sorry, I'm just trying to update the show here while I do that and fiddle fart around with the thing.
Yep, it looks like we got a chatter there. Yo.
Oh my goodness, we do. Oh wow.
Yep.
Public yo. Yeah, let me see that. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, well, let me put it up on the screen. Yeah, hey, that was from just 5, 6, 7 minutes ago. Sorry about that. We're not used to having visitors here on the thing. So nice to meet you if you're still watching out there. We do appreciate it. I was going to say too, I don't know if you want to go into the second act. This is kind of a weird movie. I don't quite know where to kind of take it in aside from like talk about the pacing and that, but I guess you have the pursuit that goes on. And there's constant escalation too, like that's the tension, and that's coming out of the train robbery from Act 1. I don't know if you want to go from there. I don't want to spoil too much, but there still is like I said, there's an adventure that we're afoot at.
I will say that it's one of those. If it was a Hollywood movie, it would have been probably. Yeah, everything would have been had its experts and whatnot. But listen to or watching the interviews, it sounds like it was kind of a fly by your seat of your pants. The director would come up with these ideas, and it was up to the stunt team to kind of figure out how to do it. And the stunt coordinator, he was talking about how in America, you'd have one person that was proficient in like maybe doing gunfights and another person doing hand-to-hand combat, but Korean cinema is so small that if you're a stunt man, you had to been good with everything. You don't get to specialize in just one particular field. And I know
Right.
they did say that one of the stunt persons he did pass away during the making of the movie. So it wasn't it was a bit dangerous, and I think. I don't know if all the horses made it through as well. And just to kind of illustrate what was going on, there's the scene in the train cars, and they had built up, had built this, a section of the train car so that the camera operators could go, film it kind of sideways. With half the car being exposed, and the director was wanting the action to be fast, so the camera would have to be fast as well, and they didn't really built it to go fast. So they ended up putting like a mattress at the end, so they could run that camera as fast as they could and crash it into the mattress. So it was definitely. DIY, kind of, do it as you go. And the director said it was very stressful doing the movie because, he was constantly having to come up with different ways of getting what he wanted on the screen, and everybody was attempting to do that. So it was a bit chaotic, and so you when you watch a movie, it's all finished, but I'm sure at the time when they were making it, it probably was pretty crazy, and they were constantly trying to figure out how they were going to do all the stuff that they wanted to do. So the fact that it's not a complete mess, that it does make sense that there's a lot of credit to be owed towards the director that he was able to pull it off to the degree that he was able to.
Yeah, I was gonna say too that also that the kind of the stakes get a little bit higher too with the practical effects and the action sequences too. I did notice that as we was watching. Good grief. Oh yeah, I was gonna say the one the bad. Did you think you find one was a I don't know? Did you have a favorite? I guess that was what I was going to ask. Of the because there's that they kind of play to their tropes, kind of or play to the what they are well. But did you have an overall favorite at all, or did you hate one or anything like that? Because you have a little bit more history than I do with this.
I guess my favorite is Granny, but no, no, the weird is probably the one that kind of chews up most of the scene. He's quite entertaining.
Yeah.
But the good. He's sort of like just he's like I said, he kind of leans on his archetype quite a bit. You don't really get to know him too much. There's like a little speech that he does there at the end. And the weird played by Kang-ho. He's been in other things that I've seen. Like he's in The Host. He's in Parasite, and he's in Snowpiercer. So
That's
he's
right.
one of those faces that you immediately kind of recognize. There was a comic book recently that Rick Remenders did, where the main character in that looked an awful lot like this actor as well. So I don't know if they just kind of cribbed off of his looks, or or if it was something that they did with his blessing or not. I don't know, but yeah, he has one of those expressive faces that really you immediately, there's certain actors that come off likable almost immediately, no matter what type of character they're playing. Yeah, and then you could also take it in the opposite way. There's some actors that like say James Franco. He always seems kind of greasy and unlikable, whereas this actor is immediately likable no matter what he's doing. They kind of stretch that towards the end, but yeah. Who was your particular favorite?
I still I like the good. He well, both of them, the good and the bad. They all kind of had their own little corner of little mystery. I mean, you could see some motivation for others because there is the little bit of the war does kind of creep in, and there are some kind of things like where some are kind of like after the honor of something or they're trying to do something a little bit more noble than just for greed or just transactional. But I did appreciate the weirds, just zaniness and being able to carry off that character and take him seriously at it, because there are a couple points there like where you can't remember the exact scene. There's like a couple seconds like where you kind of see him and you I can't remember what the scene was exactly, but it played into the kind of character he is, but you could kind of see in that couple seconds of like what kind of a character that is and what that means for him. And the thing it plays to his nickname. I'll just put it that way. I don't want to give it too much away, but I'll just kind of leave it like that. But I can see where they all work. But I don't know. It's probably the bad, and just because he's kind of like he's kind of doing his own thing, but it fits, and I don't know. I like.
Yeah, he's pretty ripped in it as well.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely athletic, and all these guys are really, but
he's played by yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to give the appearance of it anyway because it's a movie. Yeah. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's played by Byung-hun. I apologize for mispronouncing the name, but he also played Storm Shadow in the G.I. Joe movies. He's also in another Western, the remake of The Magnificent Seven. He's in that, and he's also in Squid Game.
Okay.
So yeah, he's one of he looks quite a bit different now than he did in the movie. So
I don't recognize him. Well, and I'm also not familiar with Korean actors either. But so that shows you how great I am with that. But. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Asian cinema, but yeah, I'm more leaning more towards Hong Kong or Japan. I have dipped my toes several times in Korean cinema, but yeah, it's usually with particular filmmakers. There's ones that I follow. So, like I said, with this director, I did see one of his earlier horror movies. And usually that's where I kind of where my interests lie for the most part is horror movies. But yeah, but if you're a horror director, writer, and then you do a Western, I'm immediately kind of interested. It's like, okay. And also I like the mashup of different genres. This is more I put this in with the weird Westerns, especially because it has weird in the title, but it's not that too weird of a Western. It's more of a traditional Western. So probably more of the other ones that we'll probably get into will be a little bit more weirder than this one, but this is a nice launching off pad. By a long shot. Mm-hmm. No doubt. I think that's because of the war, and it's because it's not quite in your expected 1800s Western town. Not quite, but there is a desert and then there is the thing. So it's like I said, it's a cultural transfusion. I don't know, but it works. I don't think it quite works like the original Good, the Bad, the Ugly, like how it worked, but this certainly works in its own right, in its own way. and is entertaining. That's the thing. Just when you think it is about to kind of get a little bit too zany or kind of a little bit too, okay, all right, or maybe that swing wasn't so great or whatever, or whatever. But again, it doesn't pull you out enough to kind of push you out of the match. You're still in the ring with it, and it still invites you in to watch it. And damn it, some of it it's just kind of, I don't know. If I could, if I had a better language thing, I'm sure if I saw it again on another few times, like you get a little bit better picking up what they're saying, at least as far as the whether it's dubbed or subtitle, whatever your mix is. But you definitely can get into the characters, and the language is not a barrier. Was a long way of getting it out. Sorry. You would think it would be, but it doesn't. It goes to the character of what you're seeing, and enjoying, and it's very easy to understand what's going on. And they do little tricks with the lighting with certain characters that are in screen are a little bit better lit than others, versus like the weird who's a little bit grimy and weird. I mean, weird looking, I guess. I don't know how to describe it with the light with him, but with the good and the bad, they definitely play with that a little bit, which I also like too.
Yeah, and there's interesting play with color as well. Like a lot of times it's lit like a Western. You have your primary, your basic kind of dirt colors that's kind of shows off the grit and grime of a Western. But there's a couple of especially when they're in the little town at night. There's like a real pop of color that really kind of comes across on the screen that really dazzles the eyes. And there's the one scene where he's in the train car robbing the officials, and that with the dresses and whatnot, really are kind of eye-catching colors. And then when you get outside and you see that really blue sky, that's very, very beautiful. Very immediately Western, but yeah, there's the scene where the bad, he's facing down the train, and that's a really, really striking scene. Like I said, his hairstyle maybe a little too modern, but but it works in this movie though. You kind of forgive that, just because it looks cool on him.
Well, you take him a little bit more seriously too when you kind of see what he's about and how he conducts himself. So it's not quite, maybe it looks a little goofy because of time, and it looks goofy now. It's going to look even more goofy in 30 years, whatever the timeline of the movie is. But again, it's not too much. And I was almost going to say too, almost Mad Max kind of a thing. But again, it just goes to but it's not, because it goes to the zaniness of the whole thing, and it works. So it's not like something crazy. Well, it's its own crazy, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, you definitely see the influence of Mad Max, and that sort of maybe is sort of a Western, but on metal horses as opposed to real horses. So,
right.
The influence is all within that same archetype or same circle. It's not something, it's not pulling some really crazy influence from somewhere that doesn't make sense. It all kind of makes sense. And that little,
it's grounded.
Yeah. That little band of guys there, they wouldn't be out of place in a Mad Max movie.
well, I should say grounded in its own film and grounded in its own movie in its own reality. I was gonna say there was I was gonna make a joke of like, oh, there's Glenn from The Walking Dead, but that's not Glenn from The Walking Dead. That's a joke. No, standing tall. They go through the you're like, really, this is the guy, and then nope, that's the guy. But that's where foreign films like they're not afraid to challenge that or do something different because they don't know better, right? So if you were in a Western film, if that was the timelessness, they would have been like, no, we're not going to do that hairstyle, but they don't care, and it works. And it works probably because they don't care, or they did it the South Korean way, for this story. I don't even know if the story's, I obviously it's probably not true, but the time setting that is in there are some things you don't really get. You get invested in it a little bit, and it's part of it, but you're more of, and it's kind of hard to tell, like, what narrative perspective, is the dominant one, I guess, or what's the movie really about, or who's it really following, aside from all these guys, which is maybe an interesting conversation to have offline. But anyway, it works. And I don't know. I think the best thing is because it works for me because I don't know what I was getting into, and I know, okay, weird. What does that mean? Well,
yeah. Well, and it's interesting in that, with the good, the bad, and the ugly, the backdrop of that is the Civil War.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you forget that it does take place during the Civil War. That's a character in and of itself, and this takes place during the Japanese colonization of Korea. So, and then it's sort of like the backdrop is like every once in a while you'd run into their language barrier because it's like, do you speak Chinese, do you speak Japanese, or do you speak Korean? Because there's that language element that's not there with westerns, American westerns. But yeah, like I said, it has its own flavor to it. It's one of those things where it all kind of makes sense as you're watching it, but you realize there's not a whole lot of movies that are like this. It makes it unique in and of itself. You could for the more adventurous Western Sergio Leone spaghetti Western fan, this would be kind of right up their alley. You could tell you watching the movie. I don't know if Quentin Tarantino is a fan of it, but it just seems like something that he would kind of dig. That he would see the influences and whatnot. So, and in fact, they one of the tracks that he uses in Kill Bill, they play with whenever the goods facing off against the Japanese army. They use the same musical cue that they used in Kill Bill. So if some of the music sounds familiar, that's the reason. And Kill Bill had come out relatively soon after this movie or before it, and so they were kind of questioning whether or not they should use that music because it would be pretty much on the forefront of people's minds and relate it to Kill Bill. But it was such a strong choice of music that it just seemed to fit. So that's why they went ahead and went with it.
Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say you had mentioned Soon Kang-ho. He's like the South Korean Robert De Niro. We know that you had touched on Parasite and some other ones that he had been on and absolutely I had forgot about that. You go into it, but he did a really good job. They all do, but you have they play their character from whether it's a kind of irascible weird guy who's he's petty thief, I guess. He'd be part of the group that would still have a heart. He's just out, but he's just looking out for the transaction, for the opportunity.
Yeah, at one point, he saves these kids, and he's doing some horrible violence to the bad guys, and he kept telling them, "Cover your eyes."
Yeah. You kind of even the ruthless hitman and he's the leader of the bandits, whatever. But these guys aren't like completely whatever. Although they do kind of play. I think the ambiguity is mixed in a little bit more, and a little bit harder coded and told to you in no certain terms. But you get that naturally anyway with that. You get it too in the good, the bad, the ugly. It just plays out a lot longer, with a lot less talking.
Yeah. Yeah, you even get the thing where the eyes, the close up on the eyes, them
Right.
looking at each other. There's that moment in this movie as well. There's a lot of little moments that you can tell that obviously it was inspired by the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's its own creature. So it has its own flavor and how it kind of develops the story and plays it out. It's kind of unique for itself, and the action is inspired by spaghetti westerns, but it's very clear that the Asian influence of the action is there as well. So you're getting a whole different kind of flavor to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a strong hit for me. I know that was true for Tom as well. It's just fun to be able to take the time out, instead of just being locked into like one genre or another, or you just maybe you don't know quite where you want to go. This could very easily be a pop in and see how you feel about it. You're not going to be disappointed. You will be entertained, and it's not so alien that you don't know what's going on, especially for obviously the title. Now,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, then it might be interesting for you. So that would be interesting, a first time watch.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, last month we probably had some pretty heavy movies. This was a nice, refreshing kind of a breakup. It was a palate cleanser, I guess, so to speak. It's one of those movies, like I said, that comes to you and invites you to enjoy it, as opposed to you really kind of have to approach it and be willing to take it into your consideration. Where this movie is sort of like, hey, come in, we're gonna have some fun. In action, there's no language barrier to action. Everybody enjoys action, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it works very well. Like I said, that you're not waiting too long around here for this or that, and it slowly builds where it needs to, with the characters, and it makes you care, or at least if that's appeals to you for one of them, and they're bound to, as they go out and figure out their exploits, or how to undo the exploit, or how to do the exploit to somebody else. I think kind of a little bit of a simplistic chain going on, you get to, and there is a broader arching there. I did pause on that map, which may or may not have something to do with what we're talking about, but the way that you will find out for sure is by going and seeing, checking it out and seeing what you think. You do kind of, I wonder about from the Korean perspective, I always wonder about that, because for us, for a long time, we just, it's just, well, we still do it. You just put the Nazis in the movie, and they're the bad guys. I kind of wonder
Right,
about
yeah.
that. But of course, the Japanese have been known to have like absolutely just as bad of a reputation, that's still alive to this day. But anyway, I just wonder that as kind of a cultural side. I wonder how that was taken in Japan, or in that. It's always kind of interesting. It kind of informs, because there are other countries that have they're very prideful of their nations too, just like we are. But that's just interesting too. And you do get that, the lack of a better term, but it's true, the evil empire, the Japanese, literally, also plays a part in there. So there is a kind of like, it does brush up against some kind of classic, timelessness, kind of a zany adventure, kind of a, I don't know. It's Star Wars is a Western in and of itself. May not agree with that, but it's true. But that's an argument for another day for the nerds.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, and well, you could, if you haven't checked it out, you can watch it free on Roku channel, but it's also on AMC's streaming subscription. So if you have a subscription to that, it's one of those few that aren't on Tubi. So unfortunately, it's not a Tubi movie, but yeah, it's readily available. Definitely definitely worth checking out. And if you watch it on streaming and really enjoy it and want to add it to your library, physical library, like I said, Arrow has an American version of the 4K out there, so you can definitely pick that up. I believe they go on sale through Barnes and Nobles, and also they have their site sells as well. So it's definitely worth taking a look at, and maybe you want to. And also on it, they do have deleted scenes, and they also have 5 different alternate endings. So if you wanted to check those out, they're kind of variations on, there's anything too radical. But yeah, it's and like I said, I really enjoy that artwork that they've got that as a poster as well, of that. It just kind of
That's
yeah, it's kind of got that spaghetti western look to it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. It's and Arrow usually does a pretty good job with their covers. A lot of times they'll have like the classic original poster art, and then they'll commission their own art as well. So a lot of times they'll do reversible sleeves as well, so you can pick which one you want on your 4K case. But yeah, if you're interested, there's like a new interview with the writer director, and then a new interview with the stunt coordinator, and also like I said, it has those 5 different endings that you can check out. Maybe some people survive. Who knows? But you're I guess
depends on the cut. Yeah, it depends on the cut.
Right. The one that's the preferred ending, according to the director, is on the international version. So if you saw that version, that's the 2-hour and 10-minute version. Then you're seeing what he wants you to see. But like I said, there's the alternate takes as well. But yeah, it's one of those fun movies. A very beautiful looking movie. It really shines on the 4K. So if I would definitely recommend, if you have like a DVD or a Blu-ray of this, it's definitely worth the upgrade to 4K. And there's some of those scenes with all that color and the blue sky and everything. It really pops in HDR and 4K. A lot of times with those 4Ks, they look darker than the Blu-rays. Blu-rays
horrible, too dark.
Yeah. The Blu-rays usually are a lot brighter, but with this 4K, it really pops. I was really impressed by the colors in this. So yeah, definitely would recommend the 4K on this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely I would second that as well. Although it is fun to be able to kind of see it on a streaming service if you're, maybe not, you don't know, but this is definitely like when you see it, you can imagine the bigger the scenes, the more you're losing out on, because you're just not getting it at the streaming quality. You just don't. It just doesn't happen. I mean, it can, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool movies that are being put out on 4K. A lot of obscure movies that I've never seen, and then at the same time they're coming out with those 4Ks and Blu-rays of these movies. They're getting a lot of love that they didn't get in the past, but at the same time, Tubi and Canopy and a lot of those are also picking them up for the streaming service. So. What I've been doing, like I did back in the day with music, I would, maybe listen to it, or watch it now, watch the movie, and decide whether or not I want it in my library. So, there's a thing called blind buying in the physical media thing, and I'm kind of getting more and more away from that because you get burned with the $30, 4K, $30, $40 4K and you buy it and you realize you don't really care for it. And, that's a hole in your pocket that could have went to a different, more deserving movie. So the fact that you now can like watch them on streaming. Maybe to a lesser quality, especially if you're like watching it on Tubi. Their resolutions aren't the best in the world. But yeah, you watch it and you go, oh wow, I really want this on 4K. I bet this will look amazing, and then you can get it. So that's what I would recommend is check them out before making that plunge. And but yeah, this one's definitely like I said, worth upgrading to a 4K. And yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those unique movies. When you think of westerns and you think of South Korean cinema, you don't usually mix the two. But this mixed very well together for a very entertaining movie. Does have some rough edges, and maybe not. They don't pull off quite everything in this movie. But it's so much fun and such a good-hearted movie that you're willing to overlook or just embrace it for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the when you embrace the weird and you go on the story, there is a lot of heart, and it's one of those things like where I already tell you, the more you see it, the more it becomes more enduring to you as well, because you didn't see something about a character, and okay, so for the next run through, I'm gonna, instead of me really liking the bad, I'll really like the weird, or in the third one I'll like the good, or you just can't help but like them or appreciate it from a different angle, which is the same thing that happens with good films in general, with the good, the bad, the ugly. There's that one that's awesome. But strong recommend from me and Tom, and I think we're gonna give it an 8.7 out of infinity. That's obviously a joke because we don't really do that, but we're not that we don't make
I think it's better than the 7.2.
It's way better than 7.2. It's way better than that. It's way better than that. I mean, I guess you could see it as your first time, but by the time you get to the end of it, you're maybe you just don't like it, I guess, or if you just don't like Korean films, or foreign films in general. But this one works. I'm surprised I'm sure it's only going to grow. Tom, you knew about it. And so it had obviously made quite an impression. And South Korean things in America are not so unheard of anymore anyway. Like there's a whole bunch of, there's a very strong cultural bridge that as time goes on, like now I hear, the Facebook moms, like you would have heard this before, but in our, like, I don't know, last 10, 13 years, I hear regular talk of Korean dramas.
And K-pop's huge, as well.
Or and Mawa or whatever. I can never pronounce it. I never remember which one is which, but it's like the manga, the South Korean. I'm probably saying it right. Anyway, the point is there's a lot of cool stuff out there for you to go see and check out, and I love it. And again, I also, like you, I hope to see more maybe offbeat weird films that just maybe didn't quite make the thing for whatever reason. We find a lot of those, and all of YouTube does as well, but we're not unique with that at all. But we are unique because we are the first last Nerdom, and I think we're coming up to the caboose. Yeah, I definitely don't want it. You can't spoil this for when you watch this, because it's part of the experience.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not like it's a real heavy plot. You within the first 15 minutes, you got the movie, and it just kind of plays out at that point. There's not there's not a lot of huge twists and turns. There is an interesting twist at the end, but it's not like a Shyamalan twist. It's just kind of it is what it is. But yeah, you don't watch this movie for the heavy plot. You go for the action and the fun.
Yeah. Oh, the irony. Yeah. But no, I think that's good. I've been Mike.
Nam Time.